Good evening and welcome to the Maple Plains City Council meeting. It is Monday, July 24th at 7 p.m. and I'm calling the meeting to order. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First item of business this evening is visitors to be heard. Do we have any visitors to be heard? All right. We will move on. Next item of business is our consent agenda. Looking at our consent agenda, I am looking for a motion to approve minutes from the June 12th City Council workshop, June 16th City Council special meeting, June 26th City Council workshop, June 26th City Council business meeting, June 29th City Council special meeting.
Mayor,
Yes.
the 16th minutes are incorrect.
Okay, we will pull the June 16th.
It says I was absent, but farther down I made a motion. So I don't think I was absent.
Okay. Any other changes to the June 16th minutes?
And I'm not sure, did we really start at 9:49 and adjourn at 9:52? Didn't we? We were here more than 3 minutes.
On the Friday morning special meeting?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that too, but I couldn't remember the times.
Because I have written down that we were starting at 9.
It was immediately following the EDA.
It was,
One?
yeah. EDA started at 9, and then there was a special meeting after.
Oh, okay.
That's why it was,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the 3 minutes could be
Yeah.
correct.
Yep.
Okay.
We started with an EDA meeting, then rolled into the special meeting. Well,
But-
adjourned and
But
restarted.
I'm pretty sure I was at that meeting. I have it on my calendar that I was here.
No, it was just the
No, it was
three of
three
us.
of us.
It was just us three.
Just the 3?
Yeah, that was
Well, then how
the,
did I make a motion?
That's a good question.
oh, heavens.
And how did it get carried 5-0?
Was Andrew listed,
And I
was
wasn't
Councilmember
here.
Burek listed
You
as
were
there too?
traveling.
I was.
You were
You
gone.
were in Florida.
No, this is
No.
in June,
Oh,
June 16th.
Oh, this isn't this,
oh, hold on.
This is in June.
Never mind. I take that back. The EDA was the one in July. I'm
correct.
Yeah. This was talking about if we were going to move ahead or not with Lumber One Downtown Development
Oh.
Project.
Yes.
I believe you were not there at that one. You were ill that day. There was a day you were not here.
Okay, but still, how did I make a
Well,
motion?
Yeah, the error is down in the bottom.
Yeah, because I even seconded to adjourn, so I had to have been here.
Look at your calendar.
Hold on. Could this be July, not
I-
June?
I think
No.
it-
We did have one Friday, June 16th.
This, we had to stop the development because otherwise we were committed to the bonds. So we had to have the emergency meeting. Where's Mark? Does that sound right?
Yes.
I was here June 16th, because I have notes from the EDA meeting.
Yep, we had the ED meeting followed by the council meeting.
Yes, and I
So we
was
could
here for
stop.
both of those meetings.
And you were here as well?
Yes.
Okay, so then those minutes are accurate?
No, because it still says I was absent
We'll change.
Where?
The top.
at the top.
Oh, at the top, okay. All right, so with the change on the June 16th minutes with Councilmember Francis present, any other corrections or additions to the consent agenda?
Well, as long as you're there, you might as well on the June 12th meetings. It shows that City Administrator Hadler was present. I think that should be Shirley.
Yep, that's already been changed and
It has.
updated
Oh.
online and in the packet, thank you. All right, Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change on June 16th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Francis,
Second.
second by Fay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business is accounts payable, and I'm going to turn that over to Shirley or Grant.
And I don't have them. Do you have any questions on those? I don't have any.
Okay.
First, we need a motion to approve the city check batch in the amount of $345,620.24. And then okay, that's one motion.
Right, any questions regarding the city check batch?
Shirley, can you explain what you mean in your narrative on the West Hennepin Public Safety was paid on 6/30?
Yes, it was paid early.
Early, okay.
We had gotten a request because their staff was going out for
Okay,
surgery.
so
Mhm.
that's
We-
why it was not in this batch.
That's right.
Got it.
Mhm.
So that's why. Okay, any other questions regarding the city check batch?
Only that we had, did you want to bring that up, Counselor? We'll
During-
That's
talk
fire.
During the fire.
Later, okay. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve the city check batch in the amount of $345,620.24.
So moved.
Moved by Francis,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is to approve the fire partnership check batch totaling $11,085.70. Any questions for staff or anything we need to know from staff? Okay,
Mayor, my understanding is that there's a payment in here for a reimbursement for some flashlights that the amount is in error. It should not read 532.65, it should read 495.35. And the difference is the sales tax that we can't be paying. And staff has the opportunity to have the city do these bills or get a certificate. So my understanding is that in staff meetings, they have talked about that, so we should be paying $495.35.
It was brought to my attention today, and I appreciate that someone brought it up. We will again have the discussion with all city employees at our staff meeting that no sales tax should be paid on anything. We have a tax exempt number. And so, oh, I'm sorry. And so if there's any other questions, I'm not exactly sure. Well, we'll get this money back. That's how it'll be if it's been paid.
okay,
All right?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments regarding the fire ship check batch? Okay, so looking for a motion to approve the fire partnership check batch with the one change noted at $495.35.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay,
I'll second that motion.
second by Councilmember Burek. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business is our staff reports, and tonight it is our quarterly reports, so we are fortunate to have all of our staff with us today. In addition to their written reports, they're here to present a little bit and to take any questions. So we will begin with our city planner, Mr. Cultus.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council. Nice to see everybody. For the month of July, I mean, in general planning there's a lot of things going on in this city, but nothing like going on exactly right now. So we've had a ton of inquiries. We've got a lot of property that's either for sale or in the process of maybe selling. And so we've been fielding a lot of questions on a various number of properties. 5300 Highway 12, there is a buyer for that property. That's the old schoolhouse. We've had a series of conversations between staff and myself relating to the kind of reuse of that property. The 5370 building, still out there. We still have a lot of people that are kicking tires on that, trying to figure out what they can and can't do with that property. The former group home, the Cassia building, our New Haven, is still out there. We have had inquiries. I get emails on that property on a somewhat regular basis, so that just know that property's still out there, and there still are people looking at trying to reuse that. I've got a couple actually this week. And then the Wank property is another property that is for sale right now that's kind of out there. I've gotten a lot of different inquiries on it in the last 2 months. We had met with the owner on that property, maybe 4 or 5 months ago to kind of go over some concepts, and they're marketing that actively. So there's kind of just a bunch of stuff out there that we've been talking to. With that said, you all know we talked about the downtown redevelopment project. We still are out looking for people on that property. I have a meeting this week with the group that has a purchase agreement on the adjacent neighboring property, and I'm going to see where they want to go, but they're still interested in presenting a proposal to the city, and so we'll see what that looks like in the next couple of weeks. I anticipate having something updated on that. And then the only other one that you all know of that's out there is 1701 Baker Park Road. That's the villa project. It was 5 villas. They've been working on it consistently, and I think they're really close to being able to kind of get final sign-off on all of their approvals necessary to begin work on that project. And so the last piece of that is them signing the developer's agreement and then bringing in the securities and the monies that are associated with developing that property. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Or
Is the intent with the villas to begin work this year?
it's what they've told me. I know that between engineering and myself, we've been
Yeah, you both
kind of
have
now
your
following
reports.
up on the original comments that we had made way back with final plat. They had a series of conditions. They were working on it, but then they kind of sidetracked a little bit. They almost decided to purchase the property directly adjacent on the corner of Independence and Baker Park Road there. That kind of is that little corner piece that came up for sale. And so they had talked to me about a couple of concepts on how could they incorporate it. And I think they've chosen now to just go with the 5-unit project that they had. So they kind of sidetracked, I think, their focus. But my understanding is yes.
Right, and the lot looked empty.
Yeah.
And now people are living in it.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, are we moving in the right direction, or? So I was,
The people
I read
are
it in
living
both your
where?
reports.
Yeah. In the
No,
yeah.
In the corner lot?
no.
No.
Where
The
they're
other
building
one.
these.
With the barn?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, okay, I'm glad to hear we're moving in the right direction, because when you look at the land, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for our planner or
I do.
comments?
The property off Bud, south of Manchester, north of Independence, on the west side of Bud, there was some apartment, phase 1 and phase 2 of some apartment concepts last year that
Yep.
were thrown our way. Any movement on that you know of?
They were, so I talked to the architect and then I talked to the owner maybe 2 months ago, because I just follow up to see is there any activity. And they said they were kind of just waiting to feel out where the market was really going before they invested. So they told me that's still on their plate, though, to want to build that project.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll hear from West Hennepin Public Safety Director, Chief Gary Krause.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Glad to be back in front of you going over activity reports. Included in your packets, the June 2023 activity report for West Hennepin Public Safety Department. And through June, we've handled 2,342 incident complaints. And in June, 339 were in the City of Independence and 135 were in Maple Plain. And I would say if you look at the kind of the graph or the number side of it this month compared to last month, most residents would be happy to see that we're almost 3 times as many traffic stops in Maple Plain Plain this in June of 2023 as we were in June of 22. So our officers have been out there kind of proactively working the traffic enforcement. We got a couple of officers that work a lot of TZD, Toward Zero Death, overtime shifts. That is a grant funded by the state, and they've been doing some traffic enforcement there. I'll highlight a few cases and feel free to ask any questions you have on any of them. But June 1st, 1500 block Rainbow Avenue, we're dispatched to possible domestic disturbance, a lot of yelling in the background. Officers arrived on scene and found that the homeowner, everybody had been drinking, and one of the friends wanted to leave that was drive their vehicle, leave that was too intoxicated. They were uncooperative with us officers, and eventually they were able to find a sober party, a responsible party to take over for them. No arrests were made in that. Suspicious activity on June 2nd in the 1700 block of Bud Avenue in Maple Plain. Dispatched to a possible slumper. We call somebody a slumper as sleeping in a vehicle or passed out in a vehicle. This particular person was in your Veterans Memorial Park during the day, sound asleep, and everything was fine. They work the night shift and they take a quick nap on their way home. When they feel tired, they usually pull in there to go take a quick nap. A forgery, June 8th, 5600 block of Highway 12. Dispatched to that area. The reporting party wrote a check to an employee. The employee never received the check. The employer pulled a copy of the check and noticed that it was forged and cashed at another bank, and that's an ongoing investigation that we're doing now. June 2nd, a welfare check in the 5000 block of Highway 12 in Maple Plain. We were called to a person who needed help in the ditch. We located a person passed out next to their pedal bike in the ditch. Very intoxicated. Concerning statements of mental health were made, so an emergency hold was placed on that particular person. Bring up a bicycle crash just south of the Maple Plain border on County Road 83, Holgren Road and Drake Drive. June 14th, we had this bicycle crash person at night driving their pedal bike. And they had crashed their bike and were unconscious, and medically they had been pretty seriously injured. Maple Plain Fire in West Hennepin responded. We were fortunate enough to have one of our responding firefighters just a few seconds away, and they were able to open the airway and take care of that particular patient. They're still, in my understanding, they're still in the hospital and getting treatment, and their bike is still at our facility at our new garage there. So we're trying to get them their bike back because we took custody of it because it was an electric e-bike. Disturbance on June 20th, 1500 block of Howard Avenue. Unwanted person determined that they were moving into an apartment there, and during the move-in, two of the brothers began to argue and get very disruptive, yelling at each other. The residents were concerned and they called the police department. We had a hit-and-run crash that one of our officers solved that had happened in another location on June 23rd. They had heard this hit-and-run crash in the suspect vehicle headed into Maple Plain. The officer located the vehicle and was able to get that suspect vehicle and information to the other agency. They were cited for ignition interlock restriction, driving after revocation, and then the other police department's dealing with the hit-and-run crash. And then lastly, I'll just talk about a welfare check in the 2000 block of Bud Street. Welfare check of an open 911 line yelling was heard in the background. Responded and spoke with the homeowner who advised it was an accidental call, and his two sons were arguing in the background, and it just seemed to be an accidental dial. And then I'll just kind of highlight some things that coming up. Obviously, in 8 days, we have August 1st, our Night to Unite events, and I'm happy to report as of 30 minutes ago when I looked, there's 6 block parties in Maple Plain, and there's 4 in Independence. So we will get you that list so that you can attend all the block parties as mayor and council members. On June 27th, we said farewell to Officer Josh Brozick, who provided 10 years of service to our police department, and we had a nice little get-together for him, open house, and he has moved on to a different police department closer to his home. And then on July 1st, we switched over roles at our police department where a new investigator took over investigations and a new officer was put into the West Metro Drug Task Force. But happy to answer any questions that you have. Obviously, we have a hiring process going on. We haven't been able to fill that yet, and we're going to continue looking for our next officer.
Any questions? All right, thank you for that detailed report and your service.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from our city engineer. Is it going to be Mr. Martini?
Your Honor, members of the council, some of the miscellaneous things a lot of times kind of are parallel to what Mark kind of shares with you. One of the things we have been providing some assistance on is the demolition happening across Highway 12 there at 5210 Main, just some review of some restoration plans and some guidance related to that demolition. We've also been involved in the review and the ongoing work that's been done with the Baker Park villas that Mark had mentioned. Provided some assistance to staff in pursuing some funding related to the lead water services. There's some money out there to help with doing the inventory that's required for that. So an application has been put together for that. A little communication related to the Hennepin County Mill and Overlay project that has an effect on Maple Plain. And then providing some newsletter information related to stormwater. Part of our MS4 requirement is some of those education items, so we have been providing information for your residents related to stormwater. From a street standpoint, the seal coating is done now. That went pretty quick and efficient. At least to the best of my knowledge, it appears everything has gone well with that. And then, as we talked about briefly tonight at the workshop, some planning work related to the 2024 street improvements that we'll be starting to do some work moving that forward. From a sewer standpoint, we have the slip line project, still a few punch list items that we're getting taken care of on that. And then we also have our surcharge that we've been investigating. Kind of unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, one of the ways that we're going to try to narrow down where our issues are related to I&I, we need some wet weather, and as you can imagine, this hasn't been a real good summer for getting wet weather information to hopefully narrow down where we might have some issues there. So that work is ongoing, but been a little slow with the data collection because of the dry weather. And with that, I guess I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
With regards to the dry weather, will we be able to keep those in the sewers until we get the data we need? Or
Yeah,
will they
for right
wear
now,
out,
we're
or-
leaving them in there. I don't know, Matt, there's no plans right now to take them out, so.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know if they disintegrate or if they had a time
Yeah,
frame
no,
where
no.
they were
So,
not efficient anymore.
Right now, we're just being patient.
Okay.
Dave, one of the prerequisites of doing the seal coating was dry streets. They advised us not to sprinkle and things of that nature. There was a considerable amount of seal coating that got done, I want to say last Tuesday, and by about 5 p.m., it unleashed in rain. Once the seal coating project is done and it's had a couple of hours to set up, is it okay to
Yeah.
rain, or did we lose
No,
any substrate?
the biggest thing is keeping the pavement that we're going to seal coat dry. So if it was dry when they put the spray down and then the chips, we should be good at that point. When it's wet, it takes a little time for it to cure out sometimes, so you'll see that.
Working its way down the storm
Sure,
sewer.
yeah. So something to keep an eye on, though. I appreciate that, but no, if the biggest thing we're concerned with is having a dry, clean pavement when we start.
Thank you. Other
On the
questions?
demolition project that you mentioned, I noticed that they were going pretty fast and furious late last week. They did a little bit more today or yesterday and tiny bit today. They seem to have one wall still in the basement over by the sidewalk. Is that coming out?
Yeah, and I believe Dylan or
wanna
Grant
make
could probably
sure that
give you
we're
more
not-
details on that. That's the intent.
Did they run into something that they weren't anticipating?
The worry was just if removing that basement foundational wall would cause any of the sidewalk to collapse or so forth. And so the contractor was waiting to hear what we wanted to do, and admittedly the property owner had told them that was something they could not do. And so I spoke to City Attorney Landsman, and he essentially stated that when we took over ownership of taking down that property, obviously we don't own the property, it became then in our responsibility to determine what needed to be done and what the scope was responsible and what we would normally do with a project such as this. So that wall, I talked to them today, that wall will be coming down. And then speaking to Attorney Landsman, he stated that essentially if anything were to collapse, that would again be the onus of the property owner, not the city, because
Thank
we're
you.
acting within best
And
management
I
practices.
believe that they're doing some staging of that removal just to reduce the possibility of it causing more damage than they want.
Okay.
One other question regarding that is, there's been some concern expressed about that not being completely fenced in when they're not working on the north and the west side. Is that standard? What do I tell the people who've expressed concern about that?
It should be fenced in.
It's not.
It's not.
It's half a fence,
Halfway.
and it was open all weekend
Okay.
with people.
Yeah. That's
on
something
the
we should
sidewalks
follow up
and
with the
around.
contractor. Sometimes during construction, having it completely closed
Right.
off just because of the equipment moving around, but certainly at the end of each working day, that should be a secure site.
Right, and Saturday and Sunday
So,
it was
yeah,
wide
that's something
open.
that the contractor should be made
Okay.
aware of.
Thank you. Any other questions for engineer? All right, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
work and your report. All right, next we'll hear from Public Works, People Service.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Just to go over a few things from the last quarter and maybe a few goals for the next quarter. Some of my goals for this quarter were to just get a lot of the restoration and cleanup from the harsh winter. There's a lot of boulevards that were pretty torn up, so we had a list going at City Hall from people complaining and got them all taken care of along with a few other spots. And I think that all is growing in fairly well for the dry weather anyway that we've had. So, and then just getting the parks going, the irrigation, bathrooms, all that stuff started up, tennis courts, ball fields, everything's good to go with that. Haven't really had any issues. So, Veterans Park for the party in the park, that I think went all right. I wasn't in town, but seemed to be everything was in order. So, and then one that I didn't get completed quite yet is repainting the crosswalks. I should hopefully have that done here the next month or so. And then getting all the park benches installed from the grant that we got last year and got all them put in. And there's one more that we had to get a Hennepin County permit for along Baker Park Road where that tar trail is. So that'll be put in next week on the 2nd and the 3rd. And then for the next quarter, just getting through some of the projects that we already got approved for that just kind of been waiting on the contractors for with the skate upgrades for the water treatment plant, and then the tension tank drain valve, getting that replaced for the water plant as well. And then hopefully getting Willow and Poplar cleaned up, get the ditches cleaned out and a little more gravel graded out on the road. And then also another thing that I didn't get done this last, I think actually the last 2 quarters has been on my list, was to get a bunch of street signs and traffic signs straightened out. So hopefully I can finally get that taken care of with having a little more help with more people able to help. Arlington, the guy who would always come here, Corbin, has just been busy covering other stuff. So, but he'll be here a little more. He was actually here today. Helped me cut down a couple more trees and veterans from dying from the EAB. So that's another thing, is just to get a few more of those removed, because some of them are getting pretty bad and it's just they're hanging over the trails and then people call and complain. So I'd like to get them taken care of, or at least the ones that are smaller and not around power lines that I can take care of with the staff that we have. And then just to continue follow and hopefully exceed all the operational plans listed in the contract with the city. Do you guys have any questions for me?
First, I want to thank you for coming in on your weekend off, but I'd also like to follow up with that. Are you getting the support that you need from People Service? Because it's my understanding that you have other staff, so you can have your weekends off.
Yeah, I am getting the staff that I need to complete the contract for the
All right.
city.
If you need help, then please reach out to city staff so we can make sure that continues to happen.
All right, sounds good. I will.
Any other questions for Mr. Flock? All right. Thank you for your time and your report and your work.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll hear from the fire department. Deputy Chief Dennison is here tonight to report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. Good evening. In your packet is a report from, I'm here for Chief McCoy tonight, and in your packet is his report that he included in there, and I'll just go over some of the highlights in that. If I can get it here. Perfect. Chief McCoy put in there, again, the highlights, and a couple of them that just wanted to go over and talk with you is, so in the month of June, 25 fire calls is what we responded to bring our total up to a number of 162 for the year. Of those calls in June, a couple of them that we went to talk about was at the Holiday gas station in Maple Plain. We got called to respond over there for actually a carbon dioxide issue, not carbon monoxide like you typically hear at your home, but in their back storage room they have the area where the carbon dioxide pushes the pop for the fountain machine out, the soda fountain machine, and one of those containers ended up leaking and actually displacing a lot of the oxygen in the back room. And somehow that was discovered either through an odor or something, and we ended up helping them ventilate that out and stop the leak. So a little bit of a different or interesting call. And then as Director Crales alluded to, we also responded with the police department to the bicycle crash on County Road 83 and Drake Drive. And again, one of the firefighters, and I believe it was Chief McCoy, was there first and found the person from the bicycle crash was unconscious and laying on the ground, and he was able to assist this person before the other responders got there to open his airway and to assist him in checking for other injuries and finding that ultimately this gentleman had a head injury, a closed head injury. And even though he was wearing a helmet, and we had a couple of firefighters that ended up going in the ambulance with the paramedics to the hospital with the injured person. So something that I think is becoming a little bit more and more as an ask by the medics that are out here, especially on more serious calls, is they're asking to have a couple of firefighters ride into the hospital with them to assess them in the back of the rig with any treatment that they might be giving the patient. Our firefighters are trained to assist with maintaining an airway, helping with IV fluids and setup with some of that, and just some other various splinting and anything else that they might be able to assist with at their training level to help the medics. The paramedics that are out here primarily are a combination of now an EMT and a paramedic. So one person has a little bit less training than the other person does. So again, with a serious medical situation, the paramedic is the person giving the treatment in the back, while the EMT responder with the ambulance is the one driving. Needing an extra set of hands, they task us to ride along into the hospital with us. CPR calls is another thing where we're actively doing CPR, or somebody that's been in cardiac arrest. That would be another call that, again, in the last probably month that we've ridden into the hospital with to assist the medics in the back of the truck. So something you might not have known. And then on the early morning hours of June 6th, we responded up to the city of Loretto, and aided the Loretto Fire Department with an apartment complex fire there, right on County Road 19, right in downtown Loretto. Apartment complex caught on fire, and they called us from mutual aid. And one of the trucks that went up there was our ladder truck, and the ladder truck responded there, but as you all know, and if you've driven through there and look a little bit, it's a lot of overhead wires in the area, and tough to raise a ladder on a ladder truck in that area, especially the confined space. However, there was a person on the third floor that was trapped and in distress and needed some assistance in getting out. And the crew from that ladder truck used a hand ladder, ground ladder, and laddered the building up to the third story, and they were able to rescue and extricate the person from the third floor and get him out of the building. So I think firefighter Justin McCoy and Brian Doyle were two that were integral in that ladder rescue from the ground. So for sure, kudos to them. So. And we talked about the bicycle accident. Personnel changes. We currently have one person that's out on a routine leave of absence. And then we've added one firefighter, Adam Rubin. And he is a resident that lives on West Main Street, just west of County Road 83, just prior to Rainbow Avenue on the south side. He and his wife live there. Younger guy, great guy, and so glad to have him as part of our team. So he's been coming to calls and coming to training, and full of energy. So it's awesome to have him. So training, a little bit on training from the month. Our month in June was spent with doing some technical rescue, and then also some ladder rescue again, which you can see that we obviously use, and it was awesome to have that training. And then also we had the rollout of our PAR 360 program, so that we've been talking about for several months. So that was kind of rolled out with Dr. Gavian and the firefighters, and explained to them as to how the program was going to work. So that's where our training nights were spent in June. And the last note on here is just a fire inspection update. And again, I think you know that Assistant Chief Kauser has been doing some of our fire inspections and a little bit of code inspections, and has been working closely with Common Bond and the folks at 1560 Howard Avenue. Some of the issues there, not only the elevator issue, but I think we also ran into some smoke detector issues that they have been having there, and trying to get some of those corrected. So that's all I would have, and would stand for any questions that anybody might have.
Questions for the Deputy Chief? All right. I know you guys have an open house, but not coming up till October, but we want people to save the date October 7th?
7th, yes,
Okay.
the Saturday. And, and it brings up a good point, because that's in October 7th. But again, as Director Crails alluded to, we have Night to Unite that we always partner with the police department coming up. And then the Saturday after that, we have Tour de Tonka that's coming through town that we usually supply some manpower and vehicles towards for traffic control and direction. And then the Sunday after that, then we have the Polo Classic, which will be happening out on the polo grounds, and we go out there and assist them with medical first aid to be on site for that. Then there's a vehicle fair coming up, and then I heard there might be hints of some other extracurricular activity.
That might involve a trophy?
It might be. And I would like to say it's a traveling trophy, but it doesn't have very many miles. So
you can say that because you're wearing two hats, literally.
I'm going to plead the fifth on the rest of it because I wear two hats.
We'll just say it's going to be Battle of the Badges in that
right.
September 6th. Shoot.
7th.
7th. Oh, that's the 7th too. Okay.
Yes.
So lots of fun dates coming up that we just want
For
people
sure.
to be aware of.
Looking forward to it. So awesome.
All
So are
right.
you disclosing which side you are going to be playing on?
I will be playing on the winner's side.
Oh!
Ouch. Good answer.
Oh. Okay, on that note, I think we're going to keep moving on. Thank you very much, Deputy Fire Chief Dennison.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Next, from our staff reports, we will hear from our administration, and we have interim Shirley Slater and Grant tonight. I don't know who's first, so you guys decide.
I wish that you do it. Grant has really been working on a lot of the day-to-day activities. We're just trying to keep, I'm only here 3 days a week, and so he's much more involved. He's doing an excellent job. I can't believe we've got some of the projects done that I thought would take a lot longer. He's very knowledgeable, and so I'm just there to sit in the office and say, oh, is this being done or that being done? I presented, and we can go back to this, just the revenue and expenditures. It's not at all what the city council would like to see tonight, but it's as close to getting you something. We have some issues with our, and I brought up this before, and I'm just not going to beat a dead horse to death. We have issues between Banyan and the Excel program. And it shouldn't have happened, but it did, and so we have got Banyan working with us and also Abdu working with us. There were some incorrect entries that went in like in the middle of the year before your past administrator left, and the bookkeeper that I think is your financial person was not aware of that, and so we have to correct that. So we are working with Abdu to get it corrected, and hopefully we can do it quickly.
And Abdo staff was not available at this time, so that's
right.
why things are.
She was out of the office today. It started last week that we came to notice it, and so we're working on it. Hopefully we'll have it done by Monday.
Yeah, when we begin our budget.
We will have a budget to work on for 2024. And I have been, I received a call from Hennepin County Assessor's Office, and they are working with the city to make sure that we get the right value properties that you'll need for your budget, so. So, okay, do you want to take that? Which one? That report. You want to explain this one? Arbitrage, yeah. Oh, which one? Oh, I see. I'll accept the staff reports first.
All right, is that it from administration then? Anything from you good? All right, any questions, council, for staff? Okay, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to receive all staff reports, city planner, West Hennepin Public Safety, city engineer, public works, fire department, and administration and finance.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Burek,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we'll move on to new business. Our first item tonight is the arbitrage consulting service proposal, but from Ehlers, and I will turn that back over to staff.
Right. I received a phone call from Ehlers, and they were quite concerned because we haven't had an arbitrage agreement with anyone for, I think, the last 3 years. It was canceled or something when your new administrator started 3 years ago or something like that. And so they cautioned me that I should bring it before the council, and attached is a lot of documentation, and I'm not really the one that should be presenting this. They should be here. But they are very concerned about the Exhibit A, those bond issues, and you can see that it's a very low interest. And the way that I understand how this works is if you have bonds that you took out when the interest was really low and you've invested a lot of that money, the IRS is always watching cities of our size or any size, and they will review that. And they said it's very important that you have someone look over and keep track of this. And I'm not sure if your past administrator was doing that. That's the understanding I got, as that the city council did not vote to hire Ehlers at the last time to do this. But no one is looking at this currently. And so they gave us a price, and that they would, prefer. Now, they are also, I would think that that's our next, do you use Ehlers for your bonding? You do. Mm-hmm. So this would be an additional service that they would provide for us. All I can tell you, unless you want to wait till Ehlers comes out here. Let's wait this long.
Councilmember Councilmember Fay.
I'm in my 7th year, and I don't ever recall having arbitrage services from Ehlers ever. So I don't think it's a result of an administrator. I just don't know if we've ever had it. Mike, do you recall?
I don't recall ever seeing it in
And
12 years.
I mean.
I don't either,
we-
nine.
We work to get the lowest interest rate on bonds possible, and that's a problem? Because the IRS is doing what?
Well, the did you read this?
Yes, I
form
did.
that the IRS keeps track of, how much money that we make on those bonds. That's my understanding. And so then, if it's not reported correctly or not dealt with it correctly, I'm not exactly sure, then Ehlers said that
Okay.
someone has to look at that and re-look at it.
Yeah, and-
I did find something in the minutes where you voted not to continue with an arbitrage service. So I know that it's there. Well, you know what, I didn't pull it out and get it.
I
to
can
you,
I
but
can
will.
just add if I may. I found a letter from 2012. I think it was City Administrator Jason Zeimer.
Okay,
That was
before
prior to all of us.
Yeah, and I'll believe that. So I had said that to Shirley. It was just the council stating they don't want
Yeah.
to move forward with Ehlers arbitrage services. I don't know much about it beyond that, so I sent it back to
Okay,
Shirley.
and,
But
and I don't understand why this is even being dealt with at this time. You've said, Shirley, that we have staff stuff backing up
Yes.
because of the transition. To even spend time talking to them, I think we put this on the new administrator, and
Good
we have
job.
an education session and a workshop to try to figure out what it is.
Okay.
I get the fact that if you have real ridiculously low bonds, which a couple of ours have been recently,
they have.
and then you turn around and invest that somebody could look funny at you.
Right.
Well, we haven't invested any of the things. Look at our investment income that we have. It's almost non-existent. We've been literally keeping things in money markets that were having nominal, if any, return on investment.
Okay.
So I just don't see why this is an issue at this point.
All right, then we'll just leave it for the next person. That sounds good to me. Just wanted to bring it up so that you're aware of it. They're concerned.
So who reached out with the
Ehlers.
concern?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The gentleman that's listed in here.
All right.
And I also talked with Todd. Todd called me back. And so, you know, like I said, this is just something that came through, and if we don't need to do it, we don't need to do it. And now, we'll put it on the future agenda. How's that?
That sounds good. That way we can keep track of it and
Yes, we
follow
will.
up. So thank you for bringing that to our
Uh-huh,
attention.
You're welcome.
All right, next item of new business this evening is to look at the employment agreement for a new city administrator. And I'm going to turn that over to Grant, who I believe is going to connect us with Pat, or?
I'll update you on that in a second.
Okay.
So, Honorable Mayor and Council, as you're well aware, the city and you all, of course, have been working hard to try to find that new city administrator. And we've since selected a candidate, and negotiations have commenced, and a contract has been put together by Pat Melvin of DDA that the city has seen and our attorney has looked over. That contract is before you all, although I would add that there's now a start date that wasn't in your version, and that's the 5th of September, 2023, of course. I guess if you had time to look over it, it was kind of a time for City Council to look at the parameters of it and discuss if they were comfortable with what was being proposed. In terms of Pat Melvin's, availability here, he is available. It turns out that our Zoom doesn't have a microphone connected to it. That wasn't an issue when I tested it at 2 today, and so I can call him and put him on speaker if you'd like and try that. He's on standby. Otherwise, if he's not needed, I can let him know. But unfortunately, Zoom's just not working.
Okay. Do people have questions for Pat or discussions regarding the contract?
I'm a little bit troubled by it. I think it became less of a negotiation and more of a compromise. And my concern, I like Mr. Holander, don't get me wrong. I think he'd be excellent for this city, and especially I think it would be a long-term commitment on his behalf. But I can argue that I believe his amount of experience over the course of municipal experience over the course of 2 cities, as well as his education, doesn't keep pace with the I think he's at the high end right now of his wage, and his ask that I received Thursday night, I was quite surprised. And then the negotiation toned it down a little bit, but I personally still think that that it's it's too much too soon. We're going to be paying this amount in wage and benefits for what he's going to do, and we're pricing this as though what he's able to do. And I think there's just a considerable amount of training on his behalf that we're going to have to pay for. And there's pay for not only for conferences and mileage and hotels, but then there's the amount of time that he's requested to be paid off to do these. And when he's paid off, he's not in the office, which means, except for Grant is perfectly capable of holding the office on his own, but he will be out of the office. And so therefore, I wish the negotiation would have been a little tighter.
And Mayor, I will respectfully disagree with John. I think we have an outstanding candidate here, and I have never known a negotiation, John, to not be a compromise. In fact, I was always taught in negotiation that I spent 35 years doing in my career, that a good negotiation is one where neither party gets everything they want. But you come up with something that you can compromise to come to a consensus and start off. We have an excellent administrator here. We've got a good contract. And I want to thank Mayor Julie for leading the effort with Pat to negotiate that. That was tough work to have those honest conversations. But we came to a good spot. The contract that Scott looked at, I did review, and I found no issues with the one that you sent out late this afternoon, including the date. Therefore, I would move that we offer Jacob Colander the position of city administrator in Maple Plain under the conditions and the contract that was negotiated by our DDA and with the assistance of our mayor.
All right, there's a motion by Councilmember DeLuca,
I'm going to second that motion.
second by Councilmember Francis. Any further discussion?
I would also hope that that contract would be placed out on the server, because full transparency to the public, they should be able to see that contract too.
I just have one last update. I hear what you're saying, Councilmember Fay, and I respect that. And both Mr. Melvin and I took a step back on Wednesday after discussions, and that's just what negotiations is a compromise. And with the current positions that Mr. Colander holds with Minnesota small cities, that in turn affects the League of Minnesota Cities. So it is Mr. Colander's hope, and I'm just being fully transparent with the council. I received an email at 5:02 tonight that he is waiting on the small cities to answer if he can still retain his membership. The organization he currently serves as president of, which is why he has the seat on the League of Minnesota Cities board. He is still waiting for an answer from them. But he did hear that, this is his words directly, they did tell me that if the city is not a member, then I lose my seat on the board. However, they will give me some grace to convince the council to become members. I intend on having CAP come out and do a presentation. So that's where Mr. Colander is at, just in full transparency, so you all know what I know.
Well, and thank you for that. I did some research today, and the dues would be about $1,000 or $1,100 a year for being a part of the Minnesota Cities, if I read that correctly. And I think the appropriate approach is, when Jacob starts, is to have him do that presentation, and then we make a thoughtful consideration. And the contract that you've negotiated does allow for that.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
All right, any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember DeLuca, a second by Councilmember Francis, to approve the employment agreement between the City of Maple Plain and Jacob Colander to serve as the Maple Plain City Administrator effective September 5th. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Welcome, Jacob. All right, next item of business is city council reports and other business. Anyone like to kick that off this evening?
Sure, I will.
Thank you, Councilmember Francis.
Early July, went to Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting, and Chief Krails asked MnDOT and county to take a look at the roundabout at 92 and 12. Granted, that's not Maple Plain, but we all travel that highway because people still drive over the roundabout. In fact, I saw a semi that didn't quite make it and went completely off-road. So hopefully they come through with some ideas of how we can make that roundabout more visible. I don't know if that's the right word. But I encourage everyone to participate and come to those coalition meetings to find out what's going on. Highway 12 is more than just Maple Plain. There's a whole big stretch. Delano's looking at future plans. We need to stay involved because Chief Krails has put so much work into it. And now City Administrator of Delano, Phil Kearns, is the chairperson. So I welcome you all to come and join a meeting and then find out what's going on between MnDOT and the counties. So I also attended EDA and workshops. There was no planning commission this month. And several meetings in a row where we all spent a great deal of time together interviewing for city administrator. Appreciate all the help from the staff and from the community in doing those interviews. Your feedback was very much appreciated and helped us with our decision making. And that's what all I have.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Fay.
Well, this month has been occupied with many hours of reviewing and preparing for city administrator interviews and ultimately the selection. Pair of workshops, tonight's business meeting, as well as a special meeting to determine the fate of the 5210 Main Street building. I attend Orono Rotary as well as a Rotary Executive Board meeting this month, EDA, where we got schooled in tax increment financing as well as tax abatement that hopefully, one way or the other, will help us in our work in a downtown development. Today I attended a Fire Commission meeting where we got our first look at a 2024 proposed budget. And next week, we will get a high-level overview, I guess, of the city budget, more philosophic than concrete.
Thank you very much. Councilmember DeLuca.
Boy, a month of workshops and interviews and interviews and interviews, and a special thanks to our staff who interviewed our candidates as well, and the community. That it truly was a collaborative process to secure our new administrator. All the special meetings and workshops that have already been mentioned. We have not forgotten about the Community Advisory Committee. Grant and I will be spending some time on trying to get that as we now move into a new phase with a new administrator. So it's been a joy working with everybody for the month.
Thank you. Councilmember Burek.
Well, with all the interviews and deliberations, I also attended the watershed meeting. I got to see a lot of firsthand results of what they do and treatments that they ensure that the water quality is increasing. And how much work that goes into that with partnerships with Hennepin County and other organizations that allow pretty seamless effort on their part on ensuring that our water qualities are kept up to standards and improved. And then I will be attending the Police Commission meeting tomorrow to start talking about budget. And that's about where I'm at right now.
All right, thank you very much. As you've all heard, July has been a busy, busy month, and we've all spent a lot of quality time together. I was honored to be a part of the police interviews. Unfortunately, we were not able to select a candidate, but if anyone knows anyone, a police officer, we'd love that would be a good fit with us. Send them our way. All the information's on the website. It's a supportive community, great culture, and we're looking for some great team members to add to that staff. Was also able to attend regional council of mayors. Mayor Johnson and I picked up District Superintendent Fleschner, and Scott Kroonquist, the executive director of the Association of Metropolitan School Districts, was there. And our meeting really focused on strong communities and strong schools and how they coincide. So that's a great opportunity. Grant and I met with Emma Youngquist. Emma is one of Congressman Dean Phillips' staff. She has been promoted to district director, so she is making the rounds to all the cities, and just really wanted to hear about our priorities and ways that Congressman Phillips and his office can partner with us here in the city of Maple Plain. Continue to attend the Future Fire Service meetings with some of the people in attendance with us today, with the primary goal of looking at future fire district for us and potential partnerships. Was invited as a guest to the Lindale Lutheran Church 125th celebration worship and luncheon, summer barbecue at Haven Homes, Spartan Express, and pop in at Reed at Rainbow Park. So it's always fun to go shake hands and meet people at those things. And then Fire Commission today, and then I think everything else I was at with someone else, so I won't hit on all those. And just a reminder for Night to Unite on August 1, Battle of the Badges on September 7th. And then just deep gratitude as well to all of our staff and to all the community members who as well gave up 2 nights of beautiful summer nights to come in and interview. Really excited about the future with the new administrator, adding another team member and being a part of the larger team. That, you know, it takes a lot of people to keep a city running. And most people who live here don't even know, which is a good thing, as long as they can flush their toilets, drink their waters, and someone shows up when they call for help. So I think we're doing the best job we can do, and everyone's done a really good job. And we're going to finish strong these next 6 weeks, and then we will look forward to warmly welcoming Jacob to the team. So with that, any other business for this evening or announcements? Hearing none, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Francis.
Second.
Second by Burek. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned at 8:06.